few weeks after I had been in Vietnam, we ended up in this little settlement, several thatched huts, and they always knew we were coming. There's no way they didn't know we were coming. And I've read books later on where this girl's talking about we always had guards and people watching to see when soldiers were coming because they'd hear the helicopters in the distance sit down or something, and so they had their system. And if they were Viet Cong there, of course, they'd go into the jungle. So we ended up these thatched huts and come up to the door on this one small one-room hut. The palm leaves make the roof. It's kind of like shingles laid a certain way. It just lets the rain run off. There's this old man. We never saw young men, young women, nothing but old ladies and older men, old men. And once in a great while, you would see a woman in 40s. And so this old man is sitting at a table. He knows we're there, and he knew we were coming. So he's sitting there waiting. And he has a little pitcher of water, of what I thought was water on the table, and a couple of little glasses. It was tea. He points at the tea, and he makes a motion to drink, and he pours some in this little glass and holds the glass towards me. I'm standing at the door, looking around the room to see if there was anything out of the ordinary. Who knows, under one of these rugs or something, there was probably a tunnel that went underground or something, but I wasn't about to go into that room by myself. And so the old man offered me the tea. He had a very long white handlebar mustache coming down. He had a big smile, big brown eyes, and I shook my head no for the tea he was offering, and I pointed at it, and I pointed at him, and I pointed, "You drink it." Of course, I had my M16 on a strap on my shoulder, and the barrel pointed right at him, my finger on the trigger. And he drank the tea, and he poured some more and offered it to me again. And I said, no. And I turned around, and I walked away. And as I was walking away, I thought, oh my goodness, what has happened to me? How can I go to this man's door? He offers me tea. I have a gun in my hand, pointing it at him. If he makes a crazy move, I would have shot him. And I made him drink his own tea he was offering me. But sometimes, of course, they offered you poison tea, so you just, that's why I made him drink it. And then I thought about those two guys in Louisiana who were teaching us that map course. They had been hardened by war. And so I, too, had now become that way. And what it was some sort of inner shields you put up for survival of sanity, because of going out there and doing that on a daily basis and coming out of some crazy situations. You couldn't survive. You'd go crazy if you didn't put up these shields for your emotional stability of some sort. That's why so many of us came back in a crazy way. And after about 3 weeks or so when I was there, a platoon sergeant came up and asked me if I would walk point. And of course, everyone thinks if you walk point, you're crazy. But I had done a couple of things, and so they thought, and I missed the booby trap, so I found a booby trap, and I was very happy to walk point. I would much rather be walking point than being in the line behind me somewhere. There was about 10 of us when we had a full squad, and there was about 40 of us in our platoon. And so, because I guess I was used to being out in the woods, I was used to finding things, animals in the shadows, and so I was comfortable in that place, walking out there in front, because I trusted myself more so than any of my fellow soldiers. So why would I depend on them if I think I can find and spot things better than they can? Ego. I got there mid-November, and so on January the 7th, that evening, We went to bed. We'd always come back muddy, dirty, or whatever, and take our shower. You know, you put water in this canvas little sack with a little spout on it. So we'd take our shower, eat our dinner, and our weapon was always with us. Anywhere we went, it went. And it lay alongside us. And there's some other crazy situations out there in the jungle, but there are too many to talk about. So, but the last evening I was there with my platoon, in the middle of the night, we had these big guns. I don't know, I think there were 105 howitzers or something. Huge shells they shot. The shells would be stacked up there. And one time we got in a difficult situation out there. We called for fire, and you could hear these big shells flying overhead, whistling, and then they hit over where we had called them into, and because we were getting mortared, and so mortar shells were coming in on us. These guns were always going off, and somehow you learned how to sleep through them because they were right below our barracks. So it's 3 in the morning or so. Man comes through and wakes us up, and he said, "Wake up, we're getting shelled. Mortar shells are coming in." I laid there and I could hear the different sound of the mortar shells that hit and exploded, and of course our big guns were going off. They're trying to figure out the range of these shells and where they were coming from. And he said, "If they get any closer, get behind the sandbank wall." And the sandbank wall about 10 yards from where I was at, outside the barracks. And I thought to myself, if it's going to get me here, it's going to get me there. I rolled over and I went back to sleep. So